Good morning to you all. Here, let's continue the CD chapter, CDs, communicable diseases. And here we have tools to assess burden of disease, burden of CDs, burden of communicable diseases. What is burden? The magnitude, how much we have of that disease, and the distribution also. We have 5 tools. First, barrier protection. You know what barrier means? Barrier, something that separates you from the environment. And this thing that separates you from the environment, it's meant to protect you from the foreign microorganisms that cause problems to you. So barrier protection, that's one. Secondly, second tool, immunization. What is the rationale behind immunization? Is to strengthen your immune system. When your immune system is very strong, then you will be exposed to less frequently to diseases. And even if you have the disease, you will have it mildly. So you are strengthening your immune system to become like a shield to you. Third tool, screening and case finding. What do we screen for? We screen for asymptomatic cases, cases which apparently look healthy, but they have the disease. When they test, they are positive. And they can be at certain time infectious. They can transmit the disease, and that's a problem. That's first why we go screening. Secondly, you also want to find the disease in its early stages. Why? Like cancer. Why? Because you want to treat the disease or cancer, early screening, before it becomes in a end stage, before it becomes more complicated. So that's why we make screening. And case finding is that you are looking for cases in some diseases like anthrax, like Vibrio, like HIV. Ministry of Health looks for the cases, case finding. So you find this person has HIV, we go to his home and we do what we should do. Okay, so this is following the case. Usually in very dangerous diseases, which are in small amounts, 1 or 2 cases. Okay, that's good. So screening and case finding. Fourth, treatment and contact treatment. What do I mean by treatment? You give medicine to that person, to that patient, so that he or she can get rid of the disease. Not only that, like enterobiasis, for instance, we give for the child who has enterobius vermicularis, enterobiasis, it's a parasite, we give the child Vermox. And not only for the child, for the whole family, the father, the mother, the brothers and sisters. This we call prophylaxis or prophylactic treatment. We give the patient and those around, the family, the friends usually, the family usually. Okay, so this is treatment and contacts. We treat the contacts of that patient. And finally, maximize effectiveness of treatment. We give, let's say, new drugs, higher concentration, and so on. So we maximize the efficiency of drugs. Maybe we give it more frequently also. Okay, so these are the 5 tools that we use to assess the burden of CDs. Let's go over them one by one. Yes? As I told you, the contacts. Who are your contacts at home? Your mother, your father, and the family, the whole family. These are your contacts. So if you have enterobius, we give you the Vermox treatment and we give the family because the family might have it or they are going to have it because it's very infectious. Okay, we call this prophylactic treatment or prophylaxis. Understood? Thank you. So let's go over these one by one. Okay, this is barrier protection. Okay, have a look here. Maybe this picture on my right is mask, and you all have witnessed the mask during COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, COVID-19 pandemic. Everybody was wearing a mask. Maybe at home now, still you have boxes of masks. Yeah. So why do we do this? In order to protect or to isolate or to make a barrier between the route of entry of the virus, which is your nose and your mouth. Yes, cover them. That's a barrier. So that when somebody close to you has COVID-19, he or she cannot transmit the disease to you because it's covered. There is a barrier between you or the route of entry and the virus. Okay. Also, if you look here, there is Ebola. Ebola is a very killer disease with high case fatality rate, causes hemorrhagic fever. Okay, so Ebola is a very dangerous disease and it's transmitted airborne. That's why, look, what's your name? Yasser. That's why these people, if it's transmitted by a mosquito, they will not wear this. Yes? They will not wear it. This is airborne. And look, they are wearing not only gloves, not only masks, complete cover, complete suit overall, with goggles. And also these people, you can, when they finish, maybe they disinfect this suit by disinfectants. And if this patient dies, maybe they will incinerate the patient, burn the patient, to kill the probability of transmitting the disease in the future when somebody dies. So usually incineration of the bodies. So this is in the case of deadly diseases, Ebola, Nipah, Marburg, Bacillus anthracis, and so on. These are very deadly. Smallpox. Also, we have this insecticide-impregnated bed nets in diseases like VBDs, vector-borne diseases, VBDs. We have mosquito, like malaria, malariasis, which transmits Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium species in general. We have West Nile fever, Aedes aegypti. We have leishmaniasis, sandfly, phlebotomus. All of these are vectors, and they transmit the disease. So we make a barrier between us and that vector. And this is usually bed net. And the bed net has a mesh or a network that is very small that the mosquito cannot enter. Not only that, that's physical barrier. Not only that, the companies, they impregnate, they soak, you know, soaking? They soak this bed net in chemical, usually insecticide, like deltamethrin and pyrimethrin. So you have double protection, chemical plus physical. So when the mosquito thinks that it wants to go through you and bite you, she has barrier, physical, and the chemical. She smells the chemical and runs away, flies away. So in countries where they have malariasis, you have to sleep inside this. Maybe you, the family, big one for the family, or individual, the babies, okay? This bed net. Also, we have sexually transmitted diseases. These condoms, it's the males wear the condoms, and they prevent the transmission of the disease like HIV, hepatitis B, syphilis, gonorrhea, trichomonas. All of these are VDs, venereal diseases, or STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. And here we can show you something about quarantine. They isolate the people with deadly diseases or diseases that can be infectious. Here is an example, which is the sanitarium or quarantine. And this is in Palestine, in a city called Al-Khalil. And it was built by the Ottomans, the Ottoman Empire, 200 years ago. And this was used as a sanitarium or a quarantine area for those who had leprosy, Mycobacterium leprae. That's what they told me. Nowadays, it's no longer used as a quarantine. It's used as just a clinic, normal clinic. And now, even until now, they call it quarantina. So isolation, barrier maybe from outside. Then we come to tool 2. Tool 2 is immunization. And we have, maybe you had the immunology course. Did you have immunology course? Good. So this is the tip of the iceberg, immunology. We have immunization. We have passive immunity. Immunization is active immunity. And then passive immunity. We have a humoral immunity. And we have cell-mediated immunity. Let's have a look, just very brief definition. More details, you can refer back to your immunology course. Look, immunization, which is to make your immune system very strong, to make it as a shield, so it can protect you. You will not get the diseases very frequently. And if you get them, if so, you might get them money. Some people, they get even food, some food like vitamin D supplements and so on, they boost your immune system, or vitamin C or something. Okay. Then we have passive immunity. Passive immunity is that in certain cases, like tetanus, if you step on a rusty nail, then the tetanus bacteria or the toxin of the tetanus gets inside you. And if you don't get rid of this toxin very quickly, in hours, then you will get tetanus and it will kill you. How do we get rid of the tetanus? Very simple. We give antibodies. We inject antibodies, immunoglobulins inside the patient. And this goes as a scavenger. It looks inside your body and it scavenges and follows this rabies antigen, not rabies, excuse me, tetanus antigen, and neutralize it. So this way you can save the patient. Okay. If you don't do this, it's a problem. And many diseases like this. Okay. Then you have humoral immunity. Humoral immunity, immune response in which antibody is produced. You are exposed to antigen, foreign antigen, either naturally in small doses, you don't even feel it, or you can just get, like, let's say, slight fever, or by injection, vaccination. And then after some time, months, not years, months, your body will produce two things, antibodies and memory cells, so that your body can remember next time when you are exposed to the same antigen. And usually here, what are the cells that produce antibodies in our body? Lymphocytes. Which lymphocytes? Beta lymphocytes. And they develop into plasma cell, and then they produce antibody. That's humoral immunity. On the other side, we have cell-mediated immunity, in which there is no antibodies involved, but rather there is activation of T lymphocytes. Activation of T lymphocytes or phagocytes like monocytes, T lymphocytes, which release interleukins, cytokines, lymphokines, and then they activate. Usually we have from your course, you remember we have T helper, T4, CD4, TD8, cytotoxic, natural killers, all of these. T4 is the maestro, the orchestrator. Okay, go back to your immunology course and you will find things in details. Okay, this is just a quick introduction. Now let's go to immunizing agents. Based on this, let's go to immunizing agents. We have 4 types of immunizing agents. First, we have toxoid. And usually toxoid comes from the word toxin, but toxin is very active. Toxoid is weakened. Yes, weakened. So it resembles toxin. It's like toxin, but not toxin. So we call it toxoid. Okay, that's one. And that's why usually when you step on a rusty nail, that's why they give you this. They give you 2 things. Immunoglobulin, so that it can neutralize all the antigen in your body, and this acts shortly and promptly and now. It's needed. Because if you're not given this and they give you tetanus toxoid only, it will not protect you. You will die. Okay? They give you the immunoglobulins and then they give you this one, toxoid. So that this toxoid will produce, after several months, it will produce 2 things, memory cells and antibodies. Why? This toxoid, next time, after 2-3 years, when you step on a rusty nail again, you are protected. Okay? So for stepping on a rusty nail, we need 2 things, immunoglobulins to neutralize on the spot, the antigen, and toxoid for future action. Okay? That's toxoid. Secondly, antitoxin, antivenom against snake bite. Let's say the venom of the cobra, the venom of the black mamba, the venom of the rattlesnake, and other snakes. When you are bitten, then you need antitoxin, antivenom, to neutralize all the toxin of the snake. Otherwise, you will die. Okay? That's antitoxin or antivenom. Then we have immunoglobulins, the ones which I just described here. Toxoid, you need the toxin, toxoid, and you need the immunoglobulins together. So immunoglobulins, short-term, passive, and very quick, needed very quick, promptly, instantaneously, on the spot. When the accident happens, you need this very quickly. So if you see here, antitoxin and immunoglobulins, both of them are what? Antibodies, both of them, this and this. Okay, now we have the 4th thing, which is very common and people know it. And even sometimes when you say immunizing agent, people go directly to the vaccination. So vaccination is immunizing agent, but it's not the immunizing agent because we have other immunizing agents. Okay, it's part. Vaccine is part of the immunizing agent. Okay, so we have vaccines, 4 types. Live attenuated, that's one. Secondly, killed. The bacteria or the virus is totally killed. Here still we have some life in the bacteria or the organism. Cellular fraction, not the whole bacteria, but part of it, which is usually responsible for the virulence. And recombinant DNA, genetic engineering. You take part of the DNA sequence. Here's the DNA sequence, for instance, and then multiply it or as in a recombination way inside a bacteria. Okay, let's go over these in the little bit of details, not details, little bit of details. First, immunizing agent, vaccines, either live or killed. But live doesn't mean it's the wild type. You know what the wild type? The original. No, it's weakened. Okay. So suspension of live or killed microorganism, and usually it induces antibody production. Then we have toxoid. Usually if you expose the toxin to chemicals or heat, what happens to toxin? It becomes weak or almost zero effective. Okay. Example, tetanus, diphtheria, gas gangrene, which is caused by Clostridium perfringens, and they produce long-term immunity, toxoid. That's why I remember 2-3 years I had tetanus toxoid when I was working in my garden. I stepped on a rusty wire, metal wire, and then I went to the hospital. They gave me tetanus toxoid, actually, but they never gave me immunoglobulins. Clever. Huh? Anyhow, somebody has to tell them that they should get both. Somebody has to tell them. Okay. Immunoglobulins. These are immunoglobulins here. Solution containing antibodies derived from humans. And they give short-term passive immunity and they are needed instantaneously, like rabies, for instance. If you get rabies, you get tetanus, what do you need? You need these immunoglobulins on the spot so that they can go and neutralize the antigen. How do they prepare the immunoglobulins here? Very simple for rabies, for instance. They bring a large group of people, young men like you, young ladies, and they give them rabies vaccine, hyperimmunization, even high dose. And after some time, 2-3 months, they bring you back and they take blood from you, and they, with fractionation, they take the plasma and they take the immunoglobulins that are produced as a result of the vaccine which you had 3 months before. Okay, and they collect them and they prepare them ready for medical use. That's what they do it. On the same side, antitoxin, antivenom. How do they do them? Both of them are immunoglobulins. Both of them are antibodies. They just bring cobra venom, small cobra venom, small amount, very small amount, inject in a horse. 2-3 months later, they come back and they take blood. The same procedure. Of course, the horse during these months, it will produce antibodies against the cobra venom. And then they fractionate and isolate everything, and they put it in vials ready for medical use. So both of them here, antitoxin and immunoglobulins, are the same. Little bit of difference in the purpose, difference in purpose, and difference in little bit in preparation. Okay, understood? So far, so good? No questions? Let's continue. Anyhow, let's continue. These are the immunizing agents. Now we go to the vaccines, which are part of the immunizing agents. Live attenuated. Organism is prepared by repeated passages or repeated cultures. You know, in microbiology, culture, 24 hours on a plate. After 24 hours, you take just one colony and subculture on a new plate. After 24 hours on a third plate, and so on. We call this either subcultures, or usually they use here liquid material, 1 liter, 2 liters, because they need large amounts, or even 5 liters. They put the bacteria in the 5-liter broth, and then they wait maybe 2-3 days until there is enormous growth. Then they take 1 ml into a new one, which is number 2. And then 24 hours later, number 3. And they keep doing this, repeating this until it reaches 12, 13, 15. But the organism, the bacteria in flask or bottle 1, is not like the one in bottle 13. In bottle 13, it's very weak. Throughout the passages from 1 to 13, it lost its virulence. It became not very aggressive, less virulent. And this is how they make, this is one way of making live attenuated. Example is polio Sabin. We have two polio vaccines. One is Sabin and one is Salk. These are the names of the scientists, Sabin and Salk, yes? And we have also against BCG. What's BCG? No, I need somebody else to answer. BCG, yes? But like Almatigoran. This is the vaccine against tuberculosis. Very good. What's your name? Nice. Thanks, nice. Okay. So live attenuated. Usually this one, when it's given, it gives some symptoms like fever or something, or even rash, or on the site of inoculation, some redness, because the bacteria is still alive. Although sometimes in less than 1% of the cases, this vaccine causes disease and the patient might die, but in less than 1%. Yes, maybe it's that bacteria was very active and the 13 passages are not enough, or the patient has immune system that is very weak. I mean, for some reasons, or they forgot to live attenuate it for any reason. Inactivated or killed by heat or chemicals. They kill the virus. They kill the bacteria. And this one, when you are injected with it, no redness, no rash, no symptoms, no fever, nothing. But the problem with this is that it's for a short period of time. It's less efficacious than number one, which is this, the live attenuated. Less efficacious means it's less efficient. Okay, example of this is polio Salk. So we have polio Sabin, polio Salk. These are names of two scientists again. And rabies. The third one is this, cellular fraction. Example is this one, Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is the main causative agent of meningitis in children usually. It's one of three. If you remember, meningitis is caused usually by Streptococcus pneumoniae. Second, Neisseria meningitis. Third, Haemophilus influenzae B, H small IB. Okay. Here, this Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is like a ball, coccus, like a ball, it has a cell wall consisting of polysaccharides. This is the one that is most important component in the infection itself. Therefore, they say we don't need the whole bacteria. We only need this part. This part is enough. Okay, that's we call it cellular fraction. Example is this one against the meningitis. Then finally, we have the recombinant DNA. Usually they come, example in this one, recombinant DNA is hepatitis B. And they come to the virus, they take sequence of that virus, maybe, or they synthesize a sequence and they put it inside what? Inside a bacteria like Escherichia coli in recombination. And this virus gets inside the genome of the bacteria, and by the multiplication, this sequence will multiply into millions. And then they isolate it and they make a vaccine out of it. So this one here mimics the real hepatitis B virus. It's not the virus, it's a mimic of the virus. Okay? Okay. So far, so good. Types of vaccines. Look at these. These are here vaccine preventable diseases, VPDs. Not all diseases you can have vaccines against. Some diseases, they fail. Leishmania, I know my friends here and there, they tried several times and they were funded many times for projects to find a vaccine against leishmaniasis, and they never succeeded. All the time it was failed. Many hundreds of thousands of dollars were invested in this area, but did not work. Malaria, the same maybe. Okay. So, but some of them like these 21, look, even the COVID-19, maybe it's not really, so far it's not effective. Yes. It's just money and money. But here, look, Japanese encephalitis, measles, meningitis, rabies. In our, look, not necessarily for all countries to have all of these in their immunization scheme. It all depends, the health authorities in any country, they see the epidemiology of the country, and then they select what's good for them. Not necessarily all of them. Rabies, we don't have it, for instance. Yellow fever, we don't have it. I was vaccinated against yellow fever because it was a prerequisite when I wanted to travel to Africa. They told me you have to show that you have yellow fever vaccination so that we can grant you visa. So sometimes, depending on the need or the country, the health authorities, they look at the epidemiology of the country. Okay, so not necessary to have the vaccination against all of these. Okay, let's have a look at two things. Look, this is the immunization scheme in Palestine. I am going to show you two immunization schemes. Palestinian, set out by Palestinian Ministry of Health, and Israeli, set out by Israeli health authorities. Why I'm doing this? Because some of you are Palestinians from Palestine, and some of you are Palestinians with Israeli IDs. So you have to know both. Look at the Palestinian. It protects us against 11, 12 diseases. You can count them, okay? On day one, hepatitis B is given. When the baby is, or the newborn is born, delivered, day one, two vaccines, BCG and hepatitis B on day one, okay? Then we have IPV, inactivated polio vaccine, and OPV. This is a polio virus, and polio is something that is not, or something that's dangerous. And you can now see in Gaza, they have a timeout from the war, and WHO managed to vaccinate 500,000 children or 500,000 people. Okay, and usually they used what? The OPV, oral or peros. And if you can look here, look, IPV and OPV 1, 2 at month 1, 2, and then 2, and then 4, and then 6, and then 1 year and a half, and then after 6 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots. 7 shots within the first 6 years the child should take in order to be protected from polio as a disease. Because it's dangerous. That's one. Second, also, we go to Penta. What is Penta? Penta, 5, which means this vaccine will protect you in one shot from 5 diseases. What are these 5? Diphtheria, Corynebacterium diphtheriae, tetanus, Clostridium tetani, pertussis, Bordetella pertussis, hepatitis B, and HIB, which is Haemophilus influenzae B. These 5. And you will have them on 2, 4, and 6 months of age. Okay? Then you will have the PCV, pneumococcal, Streptococcus pneumoniae, the fractions, if you remember, the fractions we talked about earlier. This is called PCV. Pneumococcal, or Streptococcus pneumoniae, the same word. If you hear pneumococcal or Streptococcus pneumoniae, it's the same. Okay? Strep pneumoniae, you will have it on month 2 and 4. And then jump to 1 year, 3 times, 3 shots. Okay? Then we have MMR, 3 diseases in 1 shot. Measles, mumps, and rubella. All of them are viruses. Okay? And you will have them on year 1 and 1.5 years. Okay? Then we have DBT, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus. Like Penta, minus hepatitis B and Haemophilus influenzae. This one, DBT, is like Penta, but 2 are removed. Okay? And you have to take DBT, of course, small letter, capital, and it means something. Yes? They mean a different variation of the bacteria, mainly. So we have DBT, 1.5 year, DT alone after 6 years, and at 15 years, when the child is 15 years, small d, capital T. The newly introduced one, which is rotavirus, was introduced by our Ministry of Health just 2, 3, 4 years, not more. And at 2, 4, 6, maybe this is because the Saudi government requires that all the Hajj, the pilgrims who go to pilgrimage in Mecca, they require rota vaccine. So our Ministry of Health, maybe they said, okay, since they require this, we can include it in our scheme. This is the Palestinian scheme. Protects you from around 12 diseases or so. Yes? Now let's look at the Israeli one, the Hebrew, I call it. Look at the Israeli one. Look, even they have something very strange here, that they have, there's differences between the north and the south, and Haifa. Maybe in the north, more Israelis, more Jews. In the south, more Arabs, you know. So look, some of them, look, they give it north and south district, they give it to first grader, grade 1 in the school. South, Central, and Haifa, first dose given to them at 7th to 7th graders, when you are 7th grade. Differences because they know who are the people, maybe depending on the ethnicity, who knows, okay? And if you look here, just like us, they give hepatitis B, this is the first one, yes? So this is hepatitis B. We give it mainly dose 1. And every 5 years, in Palestine, you have to make a booster every 5 years, depending on what? You make a test for anti-S antibody. S means surface antigen, anti-S. If your anti-S level is below 10 international unit per ml, then you have to take the booster. If it's above, that's the cutoff value. If it's above, then it's okay. Usually 5 years, okay? Look, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, and polio, Haemophilus influenzae, pneumococcus, rotavirus, all of these we have. Measles, mumps, rubella, varicella, VZV, varicella zoster virus, the shingles, you know the shingles disease, also they have it. Hepatitis A, we don't have this. Papilloma virus, we don't have this also. It's the virus that causes cervical cancer in the ladies, okay? And then this is the Israeli scheme. Let's now see what are the differences between the Israeli scheme and the Palestinian scheme. Have a look. These are the differences. On my right, you see the Palestinian scheme. On my left here, you will see the Israeli scheme, okay? And first, we don't have, we do, Palestinians, they give BCG vaccine. But the Israelis, they don't give the BCG. So any of you who comes from the Israeli side, inside, he or she might not have vaccine against BCG. So the epidemiology, when the epidemiology changes, the health authorities, they change. My generation, we had vaccine against smallpox because we had it earlier. Smallpox in 1977 was in Somalia, they just declared the last case in Somalia, 1977. 1980, WHO declared that Earth is clear, or this virus has been eradicated from Earth. No cases, 0 cases. Eradication means 0 cases. And only we have 2 viruses exist in CDC Atlanta in USA and in Moscow, Russian Federation, in labs and protected labs, not any labs, not private labs, government protected labs, highly protected. Okay, so our generation, I had smallpox vaccine when I was born, but not you. BCG, those from you who are Palestinians, they have it. Israelis, they don't have it. Okay, what else do we have? Hepatitis A, they have it. We don't have it. Okay, poliovirus, papilloma virus, excuse me, not polio, papilloma virus, which causes cervical cancer in women, less than 1%. Not this one, the prevalence, less than 1%, but still considered high. So papilloma virus, they have it, we don't have it. Maybe our Ministry of Health will think of this, depending on the epidemiology. These schemes, they are all the time subject to review and subject to change. Okay, no papilloma virus. Also, what do we have? Influenza. Influenza virus, we don't have influenza virus. And influenza virus is somehow tricky. You know why it's tricky? Very good. We have shifts and drifts. So because viruses usually are exposed and they have high rates of mutation, change. And these changes in orthomyxovirus, which is we have shifts and change and shifts and drifts, and they change very frequently. So in order for the Israelis maybe to give this vaccine to their public, so they make probabilities and they think, this year, this season, we will have this virus, this combination of virus. And they vaccinate you right now. Why right now? Because the incubation period of the virus, flu virus, is very small. And if they give it to you during the winter, it needs months for you to produce antibodies. So you will not benefit from it. That's why they should keep giving the public more than one dose, and depending on what they will have next year. Sometimes they are correct, sometimes they fail. And you should have it frequently due to short incubation period. And that's another practical application of incubation period, is the vaccination itself. So these are the four differences between the two immunization schemes, the Palestinian and the Israeli. Anyhow, this is it for today, and you can ask any questions if you like. No questions, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, see you next time. Do not forget the midterm exam next Sunday. Thank you very much and have a nice time.